Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of True Crime Pillow Talk with me, Kristen. I apologize that I am now 2 days late on this episode. I know I'm slacking, but school just started back. No excuses though. I will get back on the ball with things, but today we will be discussing the San Francisco witch killers, Susan and Michael Carson. Susan was born September 14th, 1941, and Michael was born November 28th, 1950. Michael, also known as James Clifford Carson, and I will refer to him as Michael for the remainder of this episode to refrain from confusion, and Susan are convicted for 3 murders between 1981 and 1983 in Northern California and San Francisco Bay Area. Michael was married to his first wife. She began noticing behavioral changes in Michael and decided to pack her things and took their daughter they had together and left him. Michael then met Susan and their journey began. Susan Barnes was then a single mother when she met Michael with 2 teenage boys. Michael and Susan got married and started doing drugs and mysticism. Y'all know me, I don't know these words, but I'm trying. At this point, Michael changed his name and from James to Michael Bear, and Susan became Susan Bear. The only difference is it used to be S-U-S-A-N. It's S-U-Z-A-N now. It's said that Michael wrote a letter to his daughter stating that God gave him this new name, Michael Bear, and that's what he was to be called. In 1980, the Carsons took a trip to Europe for a year and then came back to the United States, moving into the Hyatt-Ashbury neighborhood in San Francisco, California. Currently, they were still using drugs, and his ex-wife feared Michael. She believed that he would harm her and attempt to abduct their daughter, so she started hiding and moving numerous times. It's said that she even cut ties with mutual acquaintances just to keep her daughter and herself safe. In March of 1981, the Carsons got a roommate named Karen Barnes, and no, she's not related to Susan at all, but Karen was 23 years old at the time and was an aspiring actress from Georgia. She was found dead in the Carsons' basement with a crushed skull and 13 stabbed wounds and was rolled up in a blanket. Detectives believe that she had to have been killed by someone she knew, making the Carsons a prime suspect. But the Carsons disappeared before Karen's body was found, and the Carsons later admitted to killing Karen and stated they believed she was a witch. When they disappeared, they moved to a mountain hideout near Grants Pass, Oregon. They lived there until around spring 1982 before moving back to Alder Point, California. When they moved back to California, they actually started working on a marijuana farm, and according to workers of the farms, the Carsons advocated for a revolution and always predicted that there was a nuclear apocalypse. I don't know why I said it like that. Nuclear apocalypse, Jesus, that will occur soon. Sorry about that. May 1982, Michael shot and killed a worker on the farm he had a dispute with, and the victim was Clark Stevens. After killing him, he attempted to dispose of his body by burning it and burying it under chicken fertilizer in the woods, but Stephen was reported missing 2 weeks later, leading to the discovery of his remains. The Carsons fled again, but were again labeled as suspects in this case. They found their abandoned belongings and a note that was written which was called for the assassination of then President Ronald Reagan. And in November 1982, Michael was actually picked up by the police in Los Angeles after an acquaintance saw him hitchhiking. But there was an error through the police, and due to that, he was freed, and he got to get away before detectives were able to actually sit down with him and question him about the previous murders. But he wasn't smart. He left evidence behind, including a mugshot, obviously, an address in which he lived, and a gun that he left that was found in the police car. In January 1983, the Carsons were hitchhiking around Bakersville when they were given a ride by a then 30-year-old John Charles Hellier, who was taking a trip to Santa Rosa, but Susan believed that John was a witch and needed to be killed. During the drive, an argument broke out and a physical altercation started, and the car came to a stop on River Road in Sonoma County. The fight continued outside of the car, and this is where Susan stabbed John while he and Michael fought over the gun. Unfortunately, Michael got a hold of the gun and was able to shoot John and killed him while other motorists were driving by. But luckily, one of the passerbys contacted police immediately to report what he had just witnessed. The police rushed to the scene where the Carsons ensued in a high-speed chase in John's car, and the chase led to a crash. Both Susan and Michael were apprehended. The Carsons initially called a press conference to confess all the murders they committed over the last 3 years, but before the trial they withdrew from the confessions they previously gave and took pleas of not guilty. On June 12, 1984, the Carsons were convicted. The murder of Barnes led to a sentence of 25 years. The murder of Stevens was 50 years to life, and the murder of John was 75 years to life, all consecutive. Michael is incarcerated in Mule Creek State Prison, and Susan is at Central California Women's Facility. In an interview, the Carsons claimed to be pacifist and vegetarian yoga practitioners who converted to a form of Islam. They described themselves as, quote-unquote, vegetarian Muslim warriors, and they stated that their crimes emerged from a mission statement which was, and I quote, to exterminate individuals they believed to be witches, end quote. So the press dubbed them as the, quote, the San Francisco witch killers. They informed investigators that they killed Barnes because they believed she had made a false conversation to their religion and was draining Miss Carson of her health and yoga powers. They stated that the reason behind killing Charles and John was because Charles sexually abused her, and John called her a witch and sexually abused her as well. From the day of incarceration up until 2015, they showed no remorse to the killings, and reports showed that they traveled through the American Southwest and parts of California and kept a list of targeted individuals. The list included political figures and celebrities such as Reagan and Johnny Carson. It is also believed they were suspects in nearly a dozen other deaths in the U.S. as well, but they haven't been able to prove it. Thank you all for listening to another episode of True Crime Pillow Talk. I appreciate all of you and want you to know that I will be starting up my own YouTube channel in the upcoming weeks. That's another reason why I've been so busy and episodes have been late, so I apologize. But I will see you next week for another case, and I love you all. Thank you. Bye.